Hello. I'm a classically trained musician, and I do listen to a lot of piano, choral, and orchestral music, but that doesn't mean that I don't listen to other things as well, although often with a critical lens and sometimes varying levels of satisfaction. But I do have to say that I find that the more deeply I listen, the more deeply I reflect on any type of music, the more I learn and the more I appreciate that which makes us so uniquely human, and that's our ability to make music. So today we're going to listen to a piece written by Kim Tae-hyung, who's probably better known to most of you as V from BTS, in collaboration with Hyo-shin in a piece called Winter Ahead. Now, I did a little bit of research online and I see that all of the lyrics are in English and that it's listed as a jazz pop ballad. Now, I don't know what that means. I haven't really come across that term before, so I'm interested to see what that might mean. I would also expect in this particular genre that the names of the musicians would be listed. It's customary in jazz. It's so improvisatory in nature that the performance of the players have a huge impact on the outcome of the piece. So, Bill Evans on piano, Ray Brown on bass, but I really couldn't find anything. It's possible that the Yoon So-cho trio is playing on this track, although I see that they also have their own version listed online. I also can't see a name for saxophonist or the trumpeter. So it's a bit of a mystery. If anyone in the community knows who they are, would like to share that, I think that would be wonderful. Now, some of you may be disappointed that I am not going to use the full 6-minute cinematic epic movie music video for this piece. There's just going to be way too much visual information to wade through, so I'm going to use the cinematic still version, and I think that will really help us focus on the music and its production. Today, I'm sitting here in front of my piano for some musical support. So let's get started, shall we? A little clapperboard, like an old film. Ooh. Oh, lovely opening. The video just a tiny bit first. So we have two young gentlemen. That's V on the left, that's Hyo-shin on the right, in a type of supper club. You can see beautiful lighting, chandelier things there on the side. You can actually see them in the mirror as well. The scene is very symmetrical, evenly divided between the two. There was some sounds in the background. It feels like it was some cutlery, some dishes, a little bit of light conversation perhaps. And then the title comes across. That's a beautiful font. That little symbol there, is that a V and an H? Could that be for V and Hyo-shin? That could be. The underlying music, so that was a piano and an alto saxophone. That alto sax was absolutely gorgeous. What great control. What a wonderful color. It was very free. It didn't feel like there was a pulse underneath. So, like you might expect, said, hey boys, go for it. And they have. The piano is very interesting. It feels like it's been treated somehow. It almost like something been laying across the strings. It's dampened somehow. Perhaps it's partially the way it's mic'd. Perhaps it's being played through a sample library. I don't know. But I can't say that I've ever really heard a piano sound like that. I mean, they can sound like a whole variety of things, but that was really lovely, a very specific, creative, artistic choice to do just that. One of the things that caught my attention is the song is essentially in E flat. So an E flat with a major 7 is diminished, F minor 7, B flat, and then it goes to G minor 7. But did you hear this? It was F sharp, C, D sharp. Perhaps we should spell that enharmonically differently because we're in E flat major. So G flat, C, G flat, C flat, E flat. Sorry, that's the chord. I'm not sure what that is. Let me try and rearrange that. Maybe it's a minor chord with a flat 5 and a sharp 7. I'm not a jazz player, so they're probably more intuitive to them to be able to name that efficiently. But it feels like it's in second inversion, whatever it is, and then it goes down chromatically. That was really cool. Or as Espa might say, too spicy. I really like that. And then this A flat chord over C, F minor 7. Oh, and that really lovely A flat minor 7, and sliding down to G minor 7. And then maybe it went back to C, F, and B flat again. Not really sure. But a really nice, lovely set of changes that you'd expect in the jazz ballad. So let's see where we go from here.
Lie with me by the fire. We can be safe from the storms of pie. There's a winter ahead. If it's cold and wet, we're always warm here side by side.
Nice. So we've added in the trio, so you can hear the stand-up upright bass being plucked with the fingers. You can hear the drums, which is a bass drum, snare, and hi-hats for the moment, using brushes, really nicely mic'd. I feel like I'm almost sitting there right in the room with them. So that was really nicely done. The harmonic movement. You know, before I do that, I think I'd like to address a question and explore the idea of what makes this music so warm and cozy. I mean, we can clearly see that in the video. That's giving that vibe. When you look at the color palette, you know, what's happening, the amount of motion and movement, you know, the single camera view. What is it about the music that gives off that vibe? If you'll just indulge me for a moment, I'd like to take you back to the classical period, back to Mozart, in fact. I'm just going to play you a little bit of an excerpt. If you're a pianist, I'm sure you've played this. I think it's called the Sonatina, or maybe the Sonata in C. Not sure, but let me just play a little bit of that for you. So you can hear in that music how compact, direct, unambiguous it is. I think a lot of that has to do with that it's built primarily on triads. So, you know, we play a C major triad here, and as soon as you play this F in second inversion above it, you feel that it wants to move back to C. The tonic has got such a strong pull. You know that there's a directionality in what's happening here. You know, and certainly when you play a dominant 7 chord, you listen to this, you know that G's going to fall down the 5th, that 7th, that F is going to fall to the E, that B natural, the leading tone is going to go to C. You you can just feel it right in the music. Even when he's moving and modulating to G major, you hear in the bass and then the F sharp. As soon as he introduces the F sharp, you know it wants to go to G. You feel it. It's implied. It's very functional that way. Contrast that with what's happening here in our piece. So we're in E flat major, the very first chord. Now I'm going to simplify all these because it's essentially a seventh chord type of song. So using just that language, we're using tetrads or 4-note chords. So the first one is this E flat major with the major seventh on top. It feels more ambiguous. It feels like it doesn't have to do anything, really. And then it moves to a diminished 7. Now, and diminished 7 chords have long been known by composers to give all kinds of opportunity. And then it moves into F minor 7, and then more or less B flat 7. I think there was a C minor chord on top of that B flat, but regardless. And then it moves to G minor 7. Again, that minor 7 chord is just so comforting. It's inescapable. That's what it feels like, to C minor 7. And then I think to F minor 7, B flat. And then, it goes to B flat minor 7. Sorry, I added in the 2 there. That sounds nice. To E flat 7, which is the secondary dominant of A flat 4 with the major 7. And a chromatic diminished passing chord. So passing chromatic diminished chord, taking us to the second inversion of E flat, to this C, sorry, I had that C sharp there, really nice, to F minor 7 again, to B flat, and back home. So yes, it's still functional, but not in the same way. Because it's using those 4-note chords, it expands possibility a little bit. It's not as direct. Let me just, so where the tension release comes from in this is more in how the chords are voiced, what notes are added to extend those chords, and a little bit of the maybe ornamentation voice leading. So let me play a little bit of what the pianist played, more or less, so you get a flavor for what is being done. That's nice. So listen to what the pianist does on the very first chord. So here we have E flat, B flat, G, adds a 6 and sticks a 9 up on top. Feel how open that is, and using the fourths, the fourth apart, the G, C, and the F. Nice. And then the second chord drops into the diminished chord, but suspends it, puts that D above the C. And actually what he does is do a little chromatic ornament run, and then talk about a skeleton chord. All we've got is the F, E flat, and B flat. So no third in this chord, just the 7th and the 11th. And then I think this chord here, he plays a C minor chord over B flat. In pop music, I call that 4-dom, a 4 chord placed on top of the dominant. In this case, it's a minor chord. I suppose, I don't know what the label would be for it, but I know there is one. So, and then it goes to, and then he does this really neat thing over the C chord. So it's a C7 chord, but it's like this sharp 11, 13 is like a double appoggiatura. And then instead of resolving it right to C7, he resolved to C7 with a sharp 5, and then down into this F minor 9 chord. So that little chromatic movement too, just that little bit gives a little bit of motion. That is really lovely. What else does he do? Oh, right at the end, bit of a cliche, perhaps. Moving from B7 to B flat 7. Actually, no, he didn't use a C sharp there. See, again, using that C sharp makes it too direct. It implies that it needs to go somewhere. He softens it by just leaving it out. And then a little tritone substitution, which drags us back down into E flat. Wow, that was really, really nice. Oh, what was also really, really nice is V's vocal. So you can hear how he's clearly studied this genre, and perhaps I can hear Michael Bublé, Tony Bennett, certainly the Velvet Fog himself, Mel Torme. Listen to how he delivers his vocal. So he sings, "Stay with me." He doesn't sing, "Stay with me," and that B flat is so creamy and beautiful. Oh, lovely. And so he drops into that B, he keeps it, "Stay with me. By the fire we can be." Oh, and then he sings, "Safe." He doesn't have very sharp attacks on the beginnings of his notes, so he elongates a little bit. So, and then the meat of the note of the tone comes a little bit later. So everything feels like it's just sitting back a tiny bit. Safe from the storms up high, there's a winter ahead. Oh, where he sings, "Where it's cold and wet." And he sings "cold and wet" and puts a tiny little T at the end. Lovely attention to detail. Oh, and then he sings, "We're always warm here side by side." Oh, that's absolutely delicious. Oh, love every moment of that. Oh, that was so nice. I've spent a lot of time there. Sorry. Let's keep going.
Side by side, come with me, change of heart, who can say, if you look in
That piano player is so tasty.
eyes, for the moon and the stars, hearing strumming guitars, where I meant that it be nice.
So essentially the same harmonic movement. The pianist has changed up the voicing a tiny bit. Now it's Hyo-shin singing a new verse. Amazing how they're both baritones and their colors are different. Hyo-shin, he modified the melody a tiny bit. He sounds more like a saxophone to me, and V sounds a little bit more like a trumpet, perhaps. But really nice. I really enjoy that, and the bass and drums are still plugging along down there. Love that little vocal fry he does.
I'll be with you until the spring runs by and the summer starts to burn. I'll be with
I wasn't going to stop. Did you notice how the light changed? So when Hyo-shin started to sing, it dimmed on V and then highlighted Hyo-shin. Really subtle little videographer thing. You can see, I mean, the lyrics change color too. I think Hyo-shin is that turquoise. V might be more lavender or purple. But so see the lyrics. But watch the lights.
I'll be with you.
I have to go back. The V, he does another little lovely delicate moment. Summer starts to burn. Hear how he delineated those notes. How delicate. What a beautiful little detail to put in. I'm going to have to go back. Okay. Fry.
Be with you
Different harmony
till the spring
movement.
runs by and the summer starts to burn. I'll be
So smooth.
with you
Oh, and lots of
when
air.
the autumn rain returns.
Oh, the piano's pretty.
Don't you wanna see
Lovely arrangement. Here's a tip for you. So, increasing the pacing of an arrangement. So, we started off with the intro. V sings the whole, we could call it the first verse, or I might call it here section A. He sings it all alone. Hyo-shin sings the next verse all alone. And now they're trading ideas back and forth. So, V sings the first bit, Hyo-shin singing the second bit, and then they sing together. So, increasing the pacing of the arrangement. I'm going to have to say here too, it almost feels like they're friends. They're really friends. I'm sure they act in lots of things, but it feels so natural and so comfortable. I'm putting a sort of story in my head, like one phones up the other and says, I have this idea. It's a song about longing. It's about the song. It's a song of the warmth of companionship and friendship set against the backdrop of a long and cold winter. And the other one says, oh, I really love that idea. Why don't we get together at the supper club? I know it's not too loud, the dishes aren't too loud, and we can just sing some ideas back and forth. It almost feels to me like this video, the genesis for it was sort of that story. They might actually sing ideas back and forth to each other. And I have to say how refreshing it is to see two young men go out, have dinner and have such an artistic, intellectual intimacy on display. I think that's really wonderful to see. I really appreciate that. I really respect that. Well done, boys. Really like that. Where was I? I got sidetracked. Oh, the harmonies change. Oh, and in the second part in particular, so starting off that E flat with a major 7 to the A flat with major 7, that chromatic passing diminished chord, to the E flat, to the C. I just really like that flat too, don't I? And F minor 7, B flat. But listen here. So the second part of that is E flat again. I think it's got the 9 on top, to the G chord, a G major chord over A. So that, in a sense, is that 4 chord over dominant. In this case, the dominant is the secondary dominant to D7, which is taking us to all things G major, which is 3, with a major 7th on top. I mean, that's gorgeous, but that's not the best part. And then it goes down to E minor 7, and it puts an F sharp 9 and 11 on top, and then it slides into this F minor 7. Like, how gorgeous is that? That might be one of the tastiest things I've ever heard. Oh, I absolutely love that. Let me see if I can try and play a little bit what he's played. Let's see. Wow, that's so beautiful. I hardly know what to say. I love that. So we have an intro, A, B, A. Let's see where we go from here. I'm not sure where we are here.
You'll stay, lie with me by the fire.
That's where it stopped. Did you hear the drummer? It's like he's like, hey, I'm still here. I've got toms too. That was funny. That was hilarious.
Say you'll stay, lie with me by the fire. We can be safe from the storms up.
So I have to comment on that. Those finger snaps are way out in front, very prominent. They feel to me like they're so even, they're so exact. Even the decay envelopes on them are exactly the same. It feels like it's come from a sample library or something. If I were the producer here, I might have sampled their snaps, the two of them together, maybe done, 10, 12 takes, and randomized them a little bit in here. maybe they tried that and it didn't work. I'm not sure. But it was amazing how prominent that was. Now they're trading ideas here. I get to hear the drums again.
Stay, lie with me. By the fire we can be safe from
I love that bass player.
Up high.
Trading ideas again. Oh, Hyo-shin's humming. So the words have changed here a tiny bit. Again, in the arrangement, how now they have them actually coming together on the final, like they're agreeing to the ideas that they're passing back and forth. And they sing Paradise in unison. Now I have to tell you just how hard that is to do. Two different people to do that, to get the kind of unity and blend of sound, which they did spectacularly. And I'm going to say, these cats are not auto-tuned. I mean, they did that. Great musicianship. And I say this too because I know that if I've orchestrated something and someone hires the orchestra and they come in and I see two of every part show up, like 2 first, 2 seconds, 2 violas, and I'm going, oh dear, I hope they're good. It's because having just two together to get the unity and the synergy and blend of sound is incredibly difficult. It really takes advanced musicianship. I'd rather have a solo violin or 3 violins or 8 desks of 16, but to do that is really difficult. And I love how they've brought them together there before our next section. So that's really nice. Trumpet solo. The piano stretching his wings a little bit. Whoa! We just had a waiter materialize out of nowhere. It makes me think, it makes me realize everything that's come before has been one shot. I don't think there were any cuts. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there were any cuts there at all. Wow, that's impressive. That's hard to do. Nice trumpet sound. Well, that was fascinating. First, the trumpet. Beautiful tone, really lovely control. Not a very adventurous melodic line. I think as a producer, I would have insisted for a little bit more thematic material. It feels to me like he hasn't listened to the melodies that were presented in either of the other 2 A sections, which is what he's soloing over. I would have insisted, I think, a little bit more to create a little bit more of unity and cohesiveness. But there was suddenly another instrument that came in, but it wasn't a live instrument. It felt like it was synthesized, modeled perhaps. Maybe it was a modeled horn, or could have been strings. I'm not really sure, but it had a bit of an edge to it. It's not something that I expected. Let's see if we can pick that up. I think it's right before when the waiter appears. Lovely tone on that trumpet. Right here. Nice chromatic. I'm really not sure what that is. That's unusual. Okay, let's keep going. B section again. Until the spring runs by and the summer stars. Hyo-shin does a bit of that vocal fry too. Suddenly, new instruments again, or maybe it's the same one, I'm not sure, but now it really sounds more like modeled strings that is being presented up a little bit higher. Very, very sharp attack on those, so it's not very soft in presentation. So really interesting choice. And we're in the B section again. You can hear where the harmony is going. Oh, we saw the waiter in the mirror. Until the spring runs by and the summer stars to burn. Nice. Little portamento.
Be with you
Oh, here's that change
when
again.
the time returns.
Oh, same little piano riff.
Yes, when all the seasons
Harpy things transition.
come, I may
Duet, tremolos.
change of heart.
Sound like strings now.
If you're looking,
Hear the way he said the word if, or sang the word if. It wasn't in tune. It was almost between a D and a D flat. Really nice. Again, very organic, feels very natural.
I may change of heart. You can say if you look in my eyes.
His finger snaps are back.
In my heart, from a world far apart, you realize where
Trumpet.
you can find
Oh, nice piano.
paradise. Paradise.
So a bit of a coda. So at the end of this A section, again, sort of the bass caught my attention. And it's funny, you know, just been going along in the half notes and sometimes dotted rhythms, and then quarters at some of the ends of those sections. And suddenly see doom, 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 doom. It felt out of character almost. It reminds me of old Mrs. Mills albums. I don't know if you know her. She's a very famous pianist from the 50s and 60s in the UK in particular, playing a lot of party music, stride stuff. And sometimes the record companies, she made tons of albums, and the record companies would hire a bass player and a drummer to come and sit in the session. And I often got the feeling that they didn't rehearse together. It was essentially, we're doing this in one take, you know, here's the key, here are the basic changes, go. And you can hear sometimes when the bass player plays wrong notes or flubs things, particularly in transitions, as she transitioned from one melody to another, and sometimes at the end of a piece too. Bass player didn't really know what they were, and they're just making stuff up. Now, I'm not saying that's what's happened here. I'm sure it's all deliberate, but it's just what it reminded me of. And it's, again, another tasty little bit that gives this a little bit of extra spice, a little bit of extra interest, which may not necessarily be, you know, coming to your conscious fore, but as part of your total experience, that unconsciousness too, you know, works its way and synthesizes it into your experience. So they're crucially important. You know, how we, you know, the words are the diction, how the words are delivered. All of that is crucially important. So let me hear that last verse again. You hear everybody's coming in now. The finger snaps are back, so we're clearly in the home stretch here.
Yes, when all
Oh, I wanted to make mention of that too. Listen how he says, I think he sings, autumn returns. You know, as a producer, as an English, first language English speaker, I might have said autumn returns, but he lands on the second part of the word instead. Again, love that. I think he does here.
when the time returns.
Nice. Oh, that piano.
Yes, when all the seasons
Harpy thing.
come, I may change of heart. Who can say if you look in my eyes for the truth in my heart? From
The drums are just prevalent now.
apart, you realize where you
Nice
can
duet.
find paradise.
Mostly in thirds. Saxophone. Boom. Oh, that stringy sound. It sounds more like strings now. Oh, little harpy thing. Cliche ending. Oh, a little sax riff. Oh, I would have put a little bit boom right at the bottom. Yeah, a bit of a cliche ending there. Gorgeous, very, very in tune with the style. Very last chord, the piano. Do you hear it? So it's basically an E flat, a major 9 chord, and then the piano playing this F major chord right up to bink, C8, the very topmost note of the piano. Interesting, those notes didn't sound treated. They sounded very clear. So that was very interesting. So anyway, so we're at the end of this piece. Well, that was absolutely lovely. I enjoyed every moment of that. Maybe going back to our initial question, jazz pop ballad. Why that term? I mean, for me, it has all of the hallmarks of a jazz ballad. It has the structure, intro, A B A, solo, B A. It has the harmonic vocabulary, a lot of the four chords, 7 extended chords. It's got the jazz trio, piano, bass, and drums, soloists, saxophone, and trumpet. The melodies are very melodic. They're very inventive. Perhaps you could say they're in a bit of a crooning style. I think there's a lack of a narrative thread, perhaps, through the lyrics, but it certainly has all of the sentimentality, for sure. So, as far as I'm concerned, this is a lovely addition to the catalog, simply a jazz ballad. Why put pop on the end? Is it because perhaps there might be a couple of instruments in there that might not be expected, or is it simply because of V's association with pop music? I don't think this piece deserves that particular moniker. I think it's just a lovely jazz ballad. I think it's beautiful, and absolutely will continue listening. So I've rambled on here. If you are still with me, I really hope you enjoyed the journey with me. So thank you. And of course, as always, thank you for listening.